Hello and welcome to the TM Tax Practices video series, Getting Ready for Tax Season. This is video 7 of 9 and we are going to be looking at the Advanced Child Tax Credit. So jumping right in, what is the Advanced Child Tax Credit? Well, the Advanced Child Tax Credit is the child tax credit, but it was through the American Rescue Plan of 2021 that a few things happened to the child tax credit, and that was an increase of that credit to $3,000 for qualifying children under 17 years and $3,600 for qualifying children under 6 years. It also increased the AGI limitations, and those AGI limitations are basically set in place to say, hey, if you make over a certain amount of adjusted gross income, you either are going to be only eligible for a partial credit or you are going to phase completely out of eligibility for the credit at all, which we did talk about in our tax credits to look out for, so you might want to check that out as well. And finally, it established an advance program, right? So the whole point of the advance program was to issue 2020 economic relief because of the pandemic, COVID-19. So the eligibility for the advance was that you were qualified for the child tax credit, and that qualification was based on tax returns filed for 2019 or 2020. Whichever one that you had on file with the IRS when they started looking at sending out these advance payments. Now, if you had not filed a 2019 or 2020 tax return, but you did apply for the 2020 stimulus or economic impact payment, then the advance was based on that. Also, you must have lived in the U.S., your main home being in the U.S., and you must have had a qualified child under age 18, 17 and under. Also, you met the increased income limits. If you met all of these eligibility requirements, then you likely received an advance, and that advance entitlement started July 15th. So going back a little bit where I talked about it was based on your 2019 or 2020 tax return, if your advance was looked at the beginning and say in July, end of July, and you had only filed your 2019 tax return at that point, that's what it was based on, okay? And that advance entitlement would have been up to half of the tax credit you were entitled to based on your 2019 or 2020 tax return that was filed. So it's all seeming pretty straightforward, right? So let's look at the 2021 credit or excess payment. This is where it can get a little bit trickier. So the 2021 child tax credit should still be available to you for at least half, right? So the idea is they gave you an advance of half in the 2021 tax year. Now you're filing your 2021 tax return. That second half should still be available to you. Now that's provided that there was no change in any of your circumstances from 2019 or 2020 to the 2021 tax year filing. So changes in circumstances can be many, but generally, what we're seeing is if you had an increase in income in 2021, then you might actually have received more of an advance than a child tax credit you were entitled to. Okay, so remember, it was still only half. So you may still not have an actual excess amount you have to repay. And yes, I've gotten a little ahead of myself. If you were paid more of an advance than you were entitled to based on your 2021 tax return, that is going to be required to be paid back. However, if you had a decrease in income in the 2021 tax year, then you're probably going to be eligible for more of a credit than you had advanced to you in 2021. Again, that was only half, so you still would have received the credit, but you're going to receive the full amount if you were eligible for even more than that. Or let's say you had more qualifying dependents, or you had less qualifying dependents. If you had more qualifying dependents, then you're probably going to be entitled to more of a credit when you file your 2021 tax return. However, if you received an advance for a dependent that is no longer a dependent and you don't have any other dependents in that tax year, you may have to repay some of that excess advance that you received. However, there is repayment protection available for some. It's going to protect you up to $2,000 per child. And the protection eligibility is going to be based on your filing status and your modified adjusted gross income. So let's look at married filing jointly, which is the first here in our table. So if you're married filing jointly and you have modified adjusted gross income of $60,000 or under, you are going to receive the full protection. Now, if your modified adjusted gross income is $60,000 to $119,999, you are going to receive some protection, partial protection. And if your modified adjusted gross income is over $120,000 and you're married filing jointly, there is not going to be any protection available to you. So you are going to want to make sure that you're talking to your tax professional when you are reporting the amounts that you received. You're reporting those correct amounts, and you're making sure that you qualify at least for a partial protection if possible for the advance of the child tax credit. So, the advanced child tax credit actually was a pretty straightforward credit. It should have been, but again, with everything, there are going to be some mitigating circumstances. So if you have mitigating circumstances that we didn't mention here in this video, just make sure you talk to your tax professional very thoroughly about this to make sure you're not on the hook to repay any amount, but IRS is on the hook to make sure that they go ahead and issue the credit that you're entitled to. I hope you were able to get some additional information from this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at info@tmtaxpractices.com. Take a look at our website to look at maybe some of the other resources that we have and other videos. Like, follow, subscribe, connect on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn.